everybody, my name's Carrie and thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me. This is the Creative Obsession Podcast. Today is November 4th, 2018. It's been a little while, but I wanted to make sure I had stuff to talk about. And things have just been a little bit busy, it's just stuff. So anyway, today is Sunday. I don't normally record on the weekends, but I think I may have to start doing that just because by the time I'm done working, I'm pretty wiped out. And so it's hard for me to come up with the energy to do this. I don't want to be like I'm half asleep. So anyway, thanks so much for coming by. We just got done with Halloween, which was fun. I dressed up to hand out candy. It seems like every year we've had less and less kids, so that's kind of a bummer. I don't know what the kids are doing. I think that there are more events like at churches and schools and stuff like that that the kids go to rather than putting in the miles. Like back when I was a kid, you put in the miles. You walked and you walked and you walked, and I think kids these days just don't want to do that. So anyway, it is still fun for those that did come by, and I had the kids appreciate what I did. So that was fun. Today is the first day of daylight savings. We got an extra hour of sleep last night. My eye is watering. So that was nice. That was always nice. The sun's going to be kind of coming in and out, so the light behind me might change a little bit. So anyway, we'll just get into the swing of things. I do have sewing and quilting to show you. That's part of the reason why it took me a while to actually make a podcast, because I wanted to get to a certain point in the quilt that I'm working on to be able to show it to you. And it just seemed like it was taking me forever. And I was making like way too many stupid rookie mistakes. And I was ripping out, and it was like not happening very fast. Last Saturday, I met up with a group of friends and we did just a sew day. And it's been a long time since I've gone and done that and met up with those gals. So that was fun to do. And I brought my quilt that I'm going to show. So the quilt I'm talking about is I'm working on the Fancy Forest quilt by Elizabeth Hartman. So the block I'm working on is the hedgehog block right there. And I don't know why it's not hard, and I just kept making mistakes. But they turned out really cute, of course, because they just turned out cute. So I got them all done. So all my hedgehogs are done. The next block that I work on, because I'm just kind of going in order the way the pattern is written, is what they call the thistle, which is, let's do it on a brighter one. Is there a brighter one? I can't really see them, but it's like this plant right here. That's the thistle. So basically, it's the top of the hedgehog with more of a plant underneath it. Oh, isn't that one cute? So they're just so stinking cute. When I knew I was going to be working on this, and just in the previous blocks that I worked on, there's a lot of tiny pieces. And I'm not a fiddly little piece quilter. I don't enjoy that so much. So my friend Jenny, who used to own the quilt shop, she now just runs a website where she has her pattern designs and some notions and stuff on it. And it's Lamb Farm Designs. And she has been talking about this product for a couple of years. And I just thought, yeah, I don't need it because I don't make fussy kind of quilts and I'm good. Well, it's been a struggle to keep things where they need to be. So I went ahead and I bought the product, and I have to say it's pretty sweet. So one of the things I got, let's see, it's easier to show you maybe this. Well, I bought the starter kit, and it's a precision piecing starter kit on her website, and I'll put the link down below to her website. So what it is this little bottle of this washable temporary glue basting glue, and it's not like if you've used like Roxanne's basting glue or something like that. It's not like that. And what it does is it takes the place of needing to use pins. Now it does take an extra step, but when you're sewing smaller pieces, the pins can really distort your fabric and things can kind of shift. And so what you do is you just use the tiniest little dot, depending on how big your piece is, just kind of, I don't know, a couple inches apart maybe, and stick your pieces together, and then you press it with a dry iron and it holds it in those spots. And so it's kind of holding it like pins would, but it'll wash out of your quilt. You don't have to remove the pins. There's no distortion from the pins. And when I went and met with my friends to sew for the day, I brought my Janome machine, and I have that as kind of a traveling machine because it's lightweight, and it's just easy to take to places. Where my Pfaff, which is the machine I prefer to sew on, it's an old machine, old metal machine, and it's heavy, and I have to like dismantle my whole sewing area. So I have this Pfaff to just kind of go and do this, go do retreats or go do whatever. The thing that it doesn't have that my Pfaff has is what's called the even feed foot. It may even have a more technical term than that, but it's a little foot that's at the back of my sewing foot. So say this is the back of my machine, and it just sits there, and as you're sewing, it helps feed the fabric, and it feeds my pieces through together at the same time. A lot of times what happens is your bottom fabric will pull just a little bit faster because the feed dogs are pulling it. It's faster than what's happening on the top, and so by the time you get to the end of your piece, you're off. So I thought, well, this will be a perfect time to use this glue because that'll hold it and keep it from getting off like that, because my Janome doesn't have that even feed foot. So that's how I came to decide to go ahead and try it. And it worked really good. It was actually really, really nice. And if I did something which I had to tear out, which seemed to happen a lot, because I sewed, like when I was doing, you know, the tops of these, I'd put it together with the angles going the wrong way, and you know, it was just like I just kept making mistakes and it was frustrating. But because it's just a temporary type adhesive, I can just pull that apart. It doesn't keep it stuck together forever. So I'd rip out my stitches and just pull it apart, reset it, re-glue it, and all that. So another thing that came with the starter kit, which is another product she really has liked. Oh, it's over there, just a second. Okay, so this is part of the precision piecing thing, is the what is this one called? Precision piecing seam presser something. What is it? Easy Press solution. So it's in this pen. So you've got this, that's how you prime it. And then what you do before you're going to go to sew your seams over, you just swipe this across the seam and press it, and it's got like a starch type product in it, and it makes your seams lay really, really nice and flat. And so between those two products, I was able to make these, what aside from my own human error, was able to make these really nicely. So I definitely recommend the product. She's been boasting about it for, like I said, for a couple of years, and now that I've actually tried it, it's not something that you would do if you're trying to like whip something through, which now I'm not at a point in my quilt making that I feel like I have to whip through things. I've got the time to take to just do it and do it right, you know. And for this quilt, with as many pieces as it has in the blocks, between the glue and the starch pen, so then you get this refill bottle and you just fill up the pen to use the starch product. It made a big difference. I really feel like it made a big difference. So I'm going to continue to use that throughout this quilt for sure, and my next quilt that I have coming up. I was just really, really trying to get those hedgehogs done so that I could kind of put that stuff away. I need a break from it, being that my next block, which I could skip, but I don't want to make that top again right now. I just need it to be different right now. So as I had shown in the past, I have this quilt that my friend wants me to make. Let me take it out of plastic. Maybe. There we go. And it's the Up North quilt, and I had talked about it before. We went and bought fabric for it, so I'll show that to you in a second. And I had talked about the fact that the pattern designer has you using templates. I don't like to use templates like that. I just don't like to. It's fussy. It's difficult for me to get a nice cut on it because you're just cutting it using cardstock paper, which you can, if you slice into it by accident, then that screws up your piece. But I was going to try and redo the pattern in my EQ and make it so that I could paper piece it or something, but the blocks are 9.5 inches wide and paper's only 8.5. So for every block, I would have to use 2 pieces of paper, print that, cut it, and line it up so that I can make the full piece, tape it in for every block. And I thought, well, that's going to take me longer and use more paper and everything than if I just did the templates. My other thought was I could go to like Tap Plastic. It's a place on the other side of Portland that can make plastic templates. And I've used that before when I've needed to make a template a certain way rather than using cardstock. But I need 4 templates just for the trees, and they're bigger pieces, which means they'd probably be about $15 a piece. And that was just like, that's too expensive. So I've just got to suck it up and make it the way the pattern calls for. So I have it printed on some pretty heavy cardstock, and I'll cut them up. As you can see, oh, you can't see anything because I have it backwards. As you can see, it's like a large triangle. So I'll cut this apart and trim it. And then what I'm going to do is use double stick tape on the back so that when I stick it on my fabric, it won't slide around. And then I'll put double stick tape on the back of my ruler and still use my ruler to cut along the edge, but I'll just line my ruler along the edge of the template so that I can just cut and not be cutting into the template paper, if that makes any sense. I had thought about just cutting it and sticking it to my ruler, but then I can't. I need both sides. I need to be able to cut the angle and I need to be able to cut the straight side. So I'm just gonna do it. The trailer I was gonna redo as a paper piece trailer. Here you can see the back of it better, the whole quilt, because it's a lot of really tiny pieces, like to make the window and the door and all that. And I thought, you know, now that I've got this precision piecing glue and starch pen to make things like line up and stay and do all that, I think I'm just going to go ahead and follow the pattern rather than trying to rewrite it as a paper piece pattern, because I can't tell, the pattern doesn't tell you what that finished size is for the trailer. And so I don't know how big to draw it out. I don't know for sure how big the trees end up being. I think that they're 9.5 by 9.5 inch blocks. So the lack of information that's in the pattern is kind of forcing me to do it the way the pattern's written, and it kind of sucks because I don't like the way the pattern's written. But my friend really wants this quilt, and so I'm going to do it. But let me show you the fabrics I got. So first we needed to get fabric for the trees. She didn't like the tealy kind of color that it showed in the pattern. She wanted more like tree colors, more true tree green. So we went to a quilt shop and we got 5 different greens so that we have some variety. And we went from lights to darks and some different tones. So those will be all the different trees. And then we found perfect fabric for bark. So to make the little trunk of the tree will be this bark fabric. And then you have the trailer. Can you see the trailer? It's got a light top, and this shows like a pink here, maybe there. How's that? Kind of a peachy bottom. So you need a little bit of a darker bottom, and then you've got different colors for the doors and windows and stuff. So this is going to be the bottom of the trailer. I love this fabric. This is going to be the top of the trailer. Let's see if I can hold that. There you go. And then this is going to be the door and window. And there's little gold flecks in this yellow fabric. But isn't that going to be perfect? And then for the parts that are going to be, looks like the hitch of the trailer, we got this gray, kind of got a metallic shine to it as well. And then the background, she wanted kind of a grayish, but not like gray specifically. And we found this, which looks like to me like tree, like birch tree kind of bark. So it's going to be perfect. Who's this? This is from In the Beginning. It's perfect fabric. So it's a kind of a light gray, but it's got some texture to it. And then the backing, so the back of it, she found this fabric. So it's going to be this kind of a greenish blue flannel. And so that'll be the back. It'll be bound with the same blue that's in the trailer. She'll like that. So that's my next thing. So my next thing is to press the fabric, get my templates ready, and start cutting it out. So like I said, not super looking forward to that part because I just don't like doing it that way. So that's going to be what you're going to see from here on. I'm going to get this done, and then I'll go back to the Forest Friends quilt because I don't have to have that done for quite a while. So that is my sewing stuff. I am going to move on into some knitting, but let me just kind of get the sewing stuff out of the way, and we'll do some knitting stuff. All right, let's talk knitting. I did make a couple of hats. I think I mentioned in the beginning that we did some camping, and we did a trip in the Coast Range. So it's the range of mountains that separates the valley that I live in from the coast. And it was along a river, and it was gorgeous. But I knew it was going to be cold. It's fall. It's, you know, the evenings are cold, and the evenings had been getting really chilly. So I thought I need to make a hat. I mean, I don't generally wear hats, but I'm going to need a hat because it's going to be cold sitting around the fire and stuff. So I just made one. So this is DK weight yarn, and I just cast on, I looked at what hat was I making? One of the chemo hats I made, I looked at how many stitches were cast on, and so I just followed that for the number of stitches, and I thought I'm just going to make a vanilla hat. Well, I didn't. Once I got going on, I'm like, well, this is boring. So I just threw in, every once in a while, I threw in a purl ridge, which I don't know if you can see. Maybe that's better. And so I knit like 6 rows, did purl, 7 rows purl, 8 rows purl, 9 rows purl, and then I got it as long as I wanted and bound, you know, did the top. And it fit, and it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. I was so glad that I had it because it was really chilly. And it was just really nice to throw on. Well, my friend that I was camping with, she's like, well, I need a hat like that. Would you make me a hat? And I'm like, sure. I mean, I can knock it out in a couple of days. It's really quite fast. So I had her try that on, like, does it fit you? Do you want it longer, tighter, whatever? And so we went through that. I said, okay, what color? So this hat I did, this was off of with my Cosmic colorway, which is purples and blues, totally fits me. She goes, I just like something kind of a gray blue. And I'm like, all right, let's see what we have. And so Rain Cloud, this is my Rain Cloud colorway. I have it. I don't have the hat because I've already given it to her, but I basically made the same hat with this color. And it was perfect. She's like, that's the exact color I was trying to describe. Yes, I know. I happen to know that. So now I have a little bit less than half balls of DK weight yarn that do happen to go together. And I thought, oh, I should make some mittens. So I think I'm going to try and make mittens and maybe stripe them because I don't have enough of either one to just use the one color to make mitts. So I'm going to use the Tin Can Knits pattern, the World's Simplest Mittens, because the pattern is written for every weight of yarn. If you use worsted, this is how much you need. This is the needles you need. And, you know, if you DK, so it's fingering, DK, worsted, and chunky weight. She has directions for. So I've got the DK. Between the two, I've almost got a full skein. So I think I'll have like just enough. And what I might do is on one, use one color for the cuff and then stripe it. And then the other one, use the other color for the cuff and stripe it. And I just hope I have enough. My hat weighs 67 grams. So I've got, I think the The skein weighs a little bit more than 100 grams because it's already dyed, and that taking up the dye does add weight to it. So I don't know, because it says for DK weight, I need like 190 yards, which is less than a full skein of DK weight yarn. So I'm going to attempt it and stripe it and see how that goes. It's like all I can really do. Either that, or I have one mitt that's one color and one mitt that's the other color, but then they don't seem like they go together. So I'll play with it. It's just a simple mitt pattern, so really I can take it and do whatever kind of design using that formula for the stitch counts and everything. So I got to kind of play with this because I think it would be cool. And I remember last year when I made my counterbalance mitts, which were fingerless mitts, and we had some really cold days. I was really wishing I had something over my fingers. So I'm going to make just full mitts with that. So stay tuned and see how that turns out. Hopefully that'll turn out good. But I loved my hat. I'm tempted to make more, but I need one because I don't ever wear them. But it was a fun thing to do. I make hats like for chemo hats, but I don't ever make hats for me. So it was kind of fun to make a hat and actually wear it. Another thing I finished is my Remnants Shrug. And if you remember, this was one of those that you make the long rectangle, sew it up, and then it makes sleeves. It is done. I don't have the ends woven in because I don't know that I'm going to keep it as it is, because I don't feel like it doesn't, I don't know. I feel like it's small. Like I want it to come down on my back a little further than it does. I don't want this to be any bigger, so I'm afraid of if I knit a wider rectangle, then the sleeves are just going to be too long. I don't mind the length of the sleeve. I'm not sure. Like I had said before, this is going to be something that I probably, if I wear it, would just wear it at home when I'm sitting and knitting and if I feel a little chill. But it's hard for me to get off because I can't reach the sleeves. But the last time I talked to you about it, I needed to do an edging around the neckline. And so what I decided to do is I picked up the stitches with a crochet hook and knitted, or not knitted, crocheted this like fan design. So what I did is I didn't want to pick up 300 stitches or whatever it was going to take to go all the way around this. And so I thought crochet was going to be the way to do it, because then you're just doing it one stitch at a time. You're not having to pick anything up. And so I went around and did a single crochet around the whole perimeter of the neckline. And then I went on YouTube, and I think it was a Bella Coco YouTube video. She's really great for crochet tutorials. And I just saw this. I'm like, all right, that's good enough. I don't know that it necessarily helps with the rolling, because as you can see, it still wants to roll. And I blocked this before I put it together, and then I re-blocked it after I added this, and it still wants to roll. So it didn't solve that, but I do think it's pretty. So that's what's all the way around. I just did it all the way around the whole thing. So I kind of feel like the shrug was a little bit of a fail. Not in a bad way, because I did think I learned some stuff. I mean, it was nice to do this kind of an edge. I like that was pretty neat. I don't know. It just didn't turn out the way I want it to turn out to fit me, to make it feel like it's usable for me. So I don't know. It's done though. It's a finished object. So what am I going to do? It's done. When I knew I was going to be going camping, and I thought, well, I'm going to want to knit in the evening. And, you know, if you sit outside and knit at night, I oftentimes have to just stop it when it gets dark because we're sitting outside. So I got online and I bought, this is called E-Sunlight. Just got it on Amazon, and it's one of those things that you see, like, it's got 3 settings. You can do one light at a time. And it just hangs on my neck. And it actually was really nice because it directed that LED light right at my hands, and I can bend it and, you know, get it to go wherever I want it to go. And it just was, it was actually really nice. I mean, it's kind of a dorky thing, but it was very handy. And then it just charges through a USB, so there's no batteries or anything. The fact that I can just have one light on if I need it was really neat. So it was, I think I saw it on Instagram. You know how you have those dumb ads that come along? And I had seen it. Well, I don't ever click on those ads because generally they're not legit. Like the pattern, like the that quilt pattern, wherever I put it, the tree one. Oh gosh, I can't find it here. This one. That was actually one of those kind of ads that my friend had seen on Instagram, and they were making it sound like you could buy this blanket. The way that the picture was on Instagram was like that, and it's like, oh, a camping blanket. She goes, oh, I want that blanket. I'm like, that looks like it's a pattern cover to me. And so we looked it up, and but it looked like if you just clicked on the ad that they were going to sell you this blanket. So I don't ever click on those because I think they're a scam. So I went on Amazon and just typed in knitting light or something like that, and they had them, and it was like $12 or something. So so what I've done in the past is I've done like a headlamp, but then you have to like really bend your head, and so this was great. So you definitely need to check that out if you ever knit in the dark, because it was really good. Another big project that I got done is my In the Light shawl. So this is the pattern on Ravelry, In the Light by Casey Day Crozier. Can't remember if I paid for it, if it was free. Anyway, look for it. You'll figure it out. Uses 2 strands of fingering weight yarn, and it's done. I have a hard time telling what's the front and what's the back, because to me they look the same, but here it is. So I started with this dark gray, which was my cinder colorway, and faded in, what was it? Oh, it was Hannah Made It's Tits Out Collective colorway. Said if I want my tits out, I'll be riding a unicorn, or I don't know, something like that. I don't have the tag anymore. And then it went into the lighter color was Your Purple Is Showing. Her yarn's super soft. So it is done. I wasn't sure how the fringe part was going to work because, and I was afraid I didn't have enough yarn to make fringe, which I wouldn't have, because this Tits Out colorway, I just had like the tiniest little 5-gram ball left, and somebody said, don't worry, you're going to unravel it and make the fringe. And you do, and it's like really cool because you don't know, but you're like knitting the fringe as you're going along, and then you go back and you unravel and you make the fringe. Now I'm tempted to cut it because you've got they're loops, and I was tempted to cut it, but I don't know. I mean, I kind of like it like that. I think it could look good either way. It is just really a nice squishy shawl. Of course, I don't know how to wear it properly because I'm just kind of not good at that. So I want the fringe to be down, and then I get all tangled. I'm doing this wrong, of course. I just think it would be neat if I could be like one of those people that just like whip, 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 and then they look gorgeous. There we go. That's kind of okay. So my In the Light shawl is done. La la. I love it. I'm really glad I made it. I wouldn't even mind making another one. It would be a fun thing to make as a gift even, because it was just fun. I don't know why it was fun. It just was. It was so nice to work with the yarn that I worked with. I think double stranding it, it gives it extra squish, which I'm thinking you could, I don't know, does 2 strands of fingering, does that make worsted or does that make DK? I guess it depends on your fingering, because you could just do a solid color and not double strand it if you knitted with worsted weight, I guess. But you wouldn't have the fade, so you get that, or blend or whatever. And now we always call everything a fade. So anyway, In the Light shawl, got it done in time for the cowl. I actually even made a project page and put my entry in for the cowl. So that was pretty good. Because I don't usually go that far to do that, but I did it. I made it. I love it. Glad I'd made it. it's too warm right now because it is. So now let me go into some of the whips. I've got a couple of things that I've worked on that are just old projects. I'm really, really trying hard not to start anything new. I'm really trying to just either finish what I have in project bags that I've like put aside, or decide that I'm not going to make it. And that's a hard decision because it's like, well, I do kind of like that. Like I got a pair of the Wishmaker mitts that are a color work fingerless mitt that I've got almost finished with the first one. I just haven't been picking it up, and it takes a certain level of concentration to work on it, and it just was like, I just want something simple, and so I don't pick it up, but I really like them, so I don't want to necessarily rip them out, but I need to not have so many whips. But I did finish, I have some hose because I did finish a couple pairs of socks. So, let me get my sock blocker. Okay, so first sock is I'm going to kind of turn it so you can see the design, is my Galliano sock by Tracy Millar. Tracy, what's your name? Tracy from the Grocery Girls. She wrote the pattern. Millar. I'm sorry, I didn't have it better. So that's her pattern. It's a really nice cable design up the front. This is an MCN blend yarn of mine from a while ago. And so yeah, I've got the one done. So that's good. So the design actually just goes right up the middle of your foot. So it's the same on both. So that's good. I've got that one done. And then I did some vanilla socks with a sock blank from Rosehaven Yarn. And it's my camper sock blank. And then I grabbed electrified mini out of my shop and used that for the heel and the toe. And so it's just a vanilla sock. So I will get the second socks of those going. Not too exciting, but that felt good to get those done because that was one of those that are like, come on, it's just socks. Get it done. Just do it. I had been having troubles with my hands, so working with the smaller needles gave me trouble for a little while. That seems to be getting better, but now I'm having numbness in my hands. So, but that they don't get numb when I knit. So that's good. They just get numb when I do other things like brush my teeth. So yeah, dealing with that. Yeah, I think that is it for all the knitting and crafty stuff. So thanks so much for joining me. I do have some life stuff if you're interested in hearing. Not too exciting. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time, whenever that happens to be. And if you decided to stay and listen to my woes, welcome. We just found out the other day it was pouring down rain, and it was last weekend. Absolutely pouring down rain. And I had been gone sewing with my friends, and I come home and Jim's like, our roof's leaking. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. And so sure enough, it was leaking in through the bathroom fan in the master bedroom. And so buckets and whatevers, and he crawled, got up in the attic space, and you definitely could see where it had been leaking. Looked like it had been leaking for a while. It just finally leaked through, and it was just like, our house is only 11 years old, so not something that we had anticipated having to take care of right now. So had a roofing guy come out, take a look at it. He's like, yeah, when they built the house and they vented your vents to like get so that your attic space, it's not a space that you use. It's just your roof line with a lot of insulation over the top. They didn't vent it properly, so air that was supposed to be going up and out through the vents was also coming back in, so it was creating heat and moisture in there. So there's some boards up there that have black mold, which is not good, and all of the vents that they put in, they didn't put in right, and you can't see it. It's a 2-story house. We can't get up on that part of the roof. So looks like we need a new roof, which is really expensive. So that kind of sucks. So dealing with that, we meet with the roofer tomorrow to kind of like see exactly what the estimate's going to be, but it's not good. Like I said, we had done some camping, which was really nice. I mean, a couple of really nice fall weekends, and enjoyed that tremendously. It just felt so good to get out in the woods. We did a little bit of hiking, and that was just so nice. Work is going. Work is work. It was fun at Halloween because I work at the high school, and so a lot of the kids dressed up, and so that was kind of fun to see the kids in their costumes and stuff as they came through. So that was pretty fun. It's tiring. It's a very tiring job. I don't feel like I have a whole lot of energy after I'm done with my day. So I'm trying to, I've got about 10 minutes from the time I get ready, take Millie for a walk. I've got about 10 minutes before I have to leave for work. And it's not really enough time for me to necessarily pull out a project to knit on, because I don't like leaving things in the middle of a row. And unless I have enough time to know that I'm going to be able to make this one repeat or this one row, I just don't pick it up. And so I'm trying to use that time to do some sewing. So I figure if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is, I'm getting something done as long as I don't have to rip it out. And that helped me get those hedgehog blocks done, just because I just chipped away at it little by little. So I'm going to try and keep doing that. And because my sewing, that I can leave, if it's just a matter of like you're sewing all these pieces together, I just have to turn off my machine and walk away, and then I can come back and everything's right where it was. So it's easier for me to do that and be interrupted than it is for my knitting and being interrupted. So I'm trying to use that time to do some sewing. It depends on the day. I may have enough energy to sew after work. It just depends on how my back's feeling. Otherwise, I do feel like I want to sit and knit, but then I have a tendency to fall asleep. So that's not good either. But by the time I get done with work and then go run some errands and then have lunch, it's getting to be late in the afternoon and I'm like pooped out. So, it's just the way it is, and it's fine. It is the way it is. So I am looking forward to, the fact that the fall season is here. We're actually, moving closer to winter, but it's like, I just feel like making stuff more when it's cool outside and it's maybe stormy and whatnot. And we're not on the go as much on the weekends, although we are going to go, Jim and I are going to go, I should check the time. Okay, I got good. I'm okay. We're going to go see the movie Bohemian Rhapsody. I had seen it on a couple days ago with my mom, and it was fantastic. I highly recommend going to see it. Rami Malek did an amazing job as Freddie Mercury. Queen is my jam. That's what I grew up. That was what I grew up with. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I played the albums. And it made me just watching the movie and just kind of reliving that time. I thought, I'm so lucky that I grew up in a time when we had musicians like Queen, Prince, David Bowie, those bands and artists that were true artists. Because nowadays I don't think kids have that kind of music available to them. Everybody's all auto-tuned and it's all studio produced, and it's crap when they try and sing live because they don't know how to sing live, and it's just a lot of theatrics and stuff. It's not just the music, and I'm really glad that I grew up in a time when we had such good music. So the movie was fantastic. As soon as I got done, Mom and I walked out and we're both like, I think we just saw an Academy Award winning movie. That was so good. I texted Jim, I said, we have got to go. You've got to see this movie. So we're going to go see it this afternoon. So yeah, that's coming up. But yeah, I definitely think you should see it. So between the two movies my mom and I have seen recently, they're both going to be Academy Award winning movies. A Star is Born, top notch. And this one, just really, really good. So I don't even know what else is up. Millie's got some issues. I think she's got some teeth that are bugging her, so she's going to go into the vet. Adulting sucks sometimes. But, it's better than nothing. So anyway, thanks for hanging out and through all my jabbering and all that stuff. And can't promise when I'm going to record again. Like I said, I want to make sure I have enough to talk about so that it's at least somewhat interesting, I think. And in the meantime, I hope you're all doing well and making all your crafts and getting all your gift making going for the holidays. And I will see you next time.